Thank you. Please continue to enjoy your meals as I tell you a little bit about our keynote speaker and the community service that Lance Allred has been up to since arriving here in the Woodlands yesterday. He has a nonprofit, Courage and Grit, where he works with at-risk youth, teaching them the soft skills through the game of basketball. Yesterday, with the help of Conroe ISD, Yes to Youth, Montgomery County Youth Services, and the Houston Rockets, he conducted a basketball camp at Oak Ridge High School, mentoring local youth. This morning, he spent time reading to the children and families at all ears, listening in Language Center. He has a passion for leaving a mark when he travels, and we greatly appreciate his generosity. Thank you, Lance. Lance Allred was the first legally deaf player in the NBA history, and he's the author of 5 books, including Long Shot from HarperCollins and The New Alpha Male, Walking the Path of the Heart from Macmillan Publishers. He's now an international inspirational speaker and has consulted on leadership and team building for companies across the world. From Christie's International Real Estate, Coldwell Banker, Costco, and the FBI. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker today, Lance Allred.
Thank you. Deaf guy doing a sound check. We on? Good? People of the woods, let's do this. Let's have a good time today. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my journey on how I became the first deaf player in NBA history, playing basketball in all the continents around the world, and what I learned about leadership along the way. This is my very first game when I joined LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2008, doing something that people said could never be done. My very first game as a basketball player at the age of 14, I was ejected because the ref thought I was ignoring him. And people said, nah, he's too deaf, he can't do this. I couldn't play with my hearing aids in due to sweat and concussion issues, so I had to learn to play it in a very different way. Keeping my head on a swivel, watching people's body language. Words can lie, the body never lies. That allowed me to be a team captain on most of these teams around the world, despite language barriers, being able to read people's body language. And here you're gonna see ESPN throw me a bone. Top 10 player of the night. First field goal made by a deaf player in NBA history. Face up, bank, keep it simple. You're going to see LeBron laugh at me because they knew all Lance wanted to do was shoot bank shots. In this day and age of social media and marketing, everyone's like, oh yeah, style, there's no points for style. Take your 2 points and you move on, you keep playing on. What is the average age of an NBA rookie? Who here is an NBA fan? Someone raise their hand? No? We're just Astros fans right now? Okay. 19? Good job. 19, 20. I was 27 when I made the NBA. 7 years of heartbreak, disappointment, setbacks, choosing to get back up every single time I got knocked down. Why? Because I choose to. I go all around the world to these leadership conventions and people pay all these fancy, buzzwords to leadership and everything. And the essence of leadership is perseverance. Can you walk what you preach? The essence of perseverance is grit. The essence of grit is choice. In this day and age, everyone's trying to quantify grit and these fancy stats and put it in this new best-selling book that can give you time hacks and shortcuts to your dreams. It's choice, choosing to get back up every single time you get knocked down. No time hacks, cheat sheets, podcasts, no essential oils. Just getting back up, even though I couldn't hear a lot of the screens coming my way. Getting hit and concussed probably more often than I wanted to admit. But choosing to get back up every single time. Why? Because I choose to. The reason why I have the hearing loss. I was born and raised in my grandfather's polygamous commune in rural Wilderness, Montana, in the backwoods of the Selway Wilderness, the largest undeveloped wilderness in the country. And so when I said people of the woods, I was being diplomatically generous. I am from the backwoods. My grandfather told my mother not to worry about things like the RH factor, My mother's a negative blood type, I'm a positive. And so when I was born, her white blood cells were killing me off inside my own system. So I had to be in an incubator for several weeks, for nearly a month, having all the blood changed out of my body with new blood. And during that process, we don't know if the nerves in my ears were never fully developed or if they were damaged, not quite sure. But now, there's no easy way to say it, so I'll just come right out and say it. I was a really good-looking kid. Look at that handsome devil. Double chin and all. About this age, 18 months, the magic number at all ears this morning, 18 months is the magic age. They had my hearing tested. My parents were very frustrated. I was the youngest of all their kids. I was a completely different challenge for them. I was very aggressive. I wasn't speaking, stabbed my sister in the face with a stiletto heel. They thought I might be the sequel to Mice and Men. They didn't know what was going to happen to me. They finally took me up to an audiologist in Missoula, Montana, where they had my hearing tested. They said, your son has profound hearing loss, about 80% if you're not an audiologist. And there were no amenities to learn sign language. I was the only deaf kid within 100 miles. So I had to learn very early on to be pushed outside of my comfort zone, made to wear my hearing aids, made to go to speech therapy 3 times a week until I was 15 years old to learn to speak this way. And I'm all about pushing people outside the comfort zone, and I will fully acknowledge right now with accountability that life did give me a head start for having a threshold for discomfort. That has given me a remarkable life, but it's just a skill. That's it. And we're going to expand into that in a little bit. And now I'm going to talk about these principles of perseverance. The first one that I've learned from my extreme upbringing, growing up in the false bravado, ultra macho wilderness of Montana, puff your chest, get ready to fight a grizzly bear if you have to, but mostly it's just posturing, to playing in the most alpha leagues around the world, athletes. That's what people aspire to be. Again, lots of false bravado. And what I learned, what it means to actually be brave and what it means to be alpha, is not gender exclusive by any means. We're going to talk into those things. First principle, accountability. Who here can tell me what accountability means to them? I will bribe you with a book. Yes, in the back. Being responsible and saying what you're going to do. And what was that last part?
Acting in alignment with who you are.
Acting in alignment. Alignment. That's a great word. I like that word. Give her a hand. What's your name? Hannah. Thank you. Accountability. Accountability was taught to me by my mother. She very easily could have been a victim and blamed the poor medical advice she got from our so-called prophets and said, it's not my fault. Someone else is responsible. Instead, she said, all I can do to ameliorate my oversight as a parent is make Lance wear his hearing aids and make Lance go to speech therapy. And I fought my mother tooth and nail every day, making her life hell. I still, to this day, cannot wait to take my hearing aids out. It is exhausting reading your lips, taking the context of a conversation, piecing it together with the vowel shifts, and responding back in kind. Your southern drawls are really throwing me off today. It takes a lot of work, but it allowed me to see that most humans speak in patterns. How tall am I? I'm 6'11". Yes, I play basketball. But sometimes I get it wrong. You want to go see a movie tonight, Lance? Oh, I would love a bowl of cold cereal. I keep it fresh with everybody. The reason, the hearing loss thing, I just want to give you a little insight. I used to talk like a tap pulse on my gloss, on the back of my mouth. And the reason why I talk like that in the back of our mouths is you feel that vibration in the back of your skull. So you feel like you're making a sound. It wasn't until I got digital hearing aids at the age of 15 that I started to realize, the party's in the front of the mouth. The diction, that's what's going on. But it takes a lot of work, still a lot of isolation, and I challenged my mother, and I did not tell my mother thank you until I was 21 years old. But here's the thing, accountability, my mother never expected a thank you. Accountability is an inside job. Every principle I give you after this is garbage if we do not have accountability. Accountability is inspiring. Let's go through presidential, I'm a history major, Nixon, Clinton, whatever, they made their lives miserable by denying. Reagan, say whatever you want about his politics. People loved him. The Oliver North Contragate scandal jumped right in front of it. This is my administration, the buck stops with me. People are very quick to forgive, and actually they want to be inspired. But we live in this day and age, social media, 24/7 news. Oh, I had nothing to do with that. That's the previous administration's fault. But when things are going really well, oh yeah, I was there the entire time. Oh, you've always been a Golden State Warriors fan, bro? Yeah. How convenient for you. In my 10 years of professional basketball, what is your name, sir? Mario? In my 10 years of professional basketball, how many times do you think I had a coach ever truly apologize? Never, he says. Good guess. And again, I go to all these leadership conventions. It's always the answer. Because most people were just bullshitting, talking about these cool keywords, buzzwords. One coach, my very last coach, a tiny little Puerto Rican guy who had every right to have a Napoleon complex. But he came in mid-season. The previous coach had to leave due to health issues. He came in, brought in 2 of his own players, messed up team chemistry. We lost 6 straight games. He had to fire one of his players. He sat us down that next day and said, guys, I screwed up, and I'm going to make it up to you. Do you think that made me think he was weak? No. I would have, and I still would, run through a brick wall for that man. Anytime he called me, I would be there. Accountability is inspiring. Confidence and humility are 2 sides of the same coin. When you know what you're good at, you have no problem admitting what you're not good at. Arrogance and insecurity, 2 sides of the same coin. Accountability, that's the thing. When you own it, those little victories, they're yours. And those singles add up to runs. And you can look back, owning your mistakes, but you can take full credit for your victories as well. Now I'm going to talk just a little bit deeper accountability.
You want to say bye-bye?
At the age of 5, I had a Sunday school teacher tell me that God had made me deaf as a form of punishment. So, we're going to go now into the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we tell the world. When we're growing up, our frontal lobe isn't fully developed. That's where we discern fact from fiction. And so we're taking all these truths from all these adults who suddenly, supposedly know how the world works, and we think that's absolute truth. And we take these stories into our adult lives. So the story that somehow I was unworthy of love, that I was being punished for some past sin I had no recollection of, was a story that sabotaged me throughout my adult life. Another story, martyrdom. My grandfather is a literal martyr. He was assassinated 4 years before I was born. Epigenetics is a fascinating field. We have habits, we have quirks, we have flaws, and we think it's all ours. Sometimes it's a genetic thing. And the choice is I can shame it, I can blame it. Just talk about the martyr archetype of working my heart out and then suddenly sabotaging and blowing everything up and saying, the world's against me, I'm going to walk away. That, the government's out to get us, so we have to live on the fringes of society, and when you live on the fringes of society as outlaws, eventually, just to survive, you have to break a rule here, break a law here, and eventually you break enough laws, and then the government does come in and arrest you and fulfills your self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what I mean by deeper accountability. Owning the stories we tell ourselves, not just to the world, but the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, and checking ourselves. And being brave enough to finally get to the age of 31 and say, Lance, do I know that this story that somehow I'm not worthy of love to actually be true? No, I don't. I want you to keep that in your mind as we go further here along this journey that I'm walking you through. Second principle of perseverance, integrity. And everyone rolls their eyes. Lance, accountability and integrity, these are cliche, man. Yeah, I know, but integrity was also one of the 3 corporate principles for Enron. What does it actually mean? I love Carolyn's presentation before mine. As a basketball player, you got to go and touch up your foundation, your principles every single day. I didn't just hit 10 free throws in a row one day in practice and say, that's it, that's a wrap, I'm done. I'm an expert. Like, no, every day you got to touch on your foundation. You got to touch on your principles and check them. Otherwise, you get sloppy and you start cutting corners. This is what the athletes have to do. The discipline is what makes the athlete separate itself from others. Integrity. You would think growing up in a socialist, polygamous commune, you would think, yeah, there were beautiful sides to it. You know, running around the wilderness with my 400 first cousins like Lord of the Flies. I could fall and scrape my knee and someone would be there to fix my knee up and give me a peanut butter sandwich and send me on my way. Lots of beautiful things. And you would think that growing up in a socialist commune, everyone's treated exactly the same. No. Socialism is a beautiful ideal, but I learned very on that different people had different sets of work ethic and entitlement. And we're pack animals. If you're an Allred or a Jessup, you're on the hierarchy at the top. But if you're Davises or Whitos, you don't really associate with those people. But my parents, from their example, I saw they treated everyone exactly the same, whether you have money or don't have money. And this allowed people to love them, to adore them, and my parents became a threat to people in power, people who thought they had to rule with the iron fist, when really that's just bleeding insecurity. You can smell it from a mile away. From my parents' example, here's how I define integrity. I ask myself a question every single night before I go to bed. Was I the same person in every room that I walked into? Not a very hard question. But when I go to the fancy C-suites, people start getting uncomfortable. But Lance, what about, the people who cut corners and play the politics and do all the backstabbing and they get the job promotion and the fancy new car? Yeah, empty calories. Because they have no intimacy with anyone to share their victories with. And that hole in their heart is still so empty because they are not integrated. Integrity is the root word of integration. That you are not changing your personality, living this extremely fractured life, that you are consistent in every room that you walk into, that you are allowing other people to know that you are a safe space. Say what you want to about Bobby Knight. He was grumpy on camera, he was grumpy off camera. There is integrity in that. I have plenty of coaches that when the cameras are on, they're Mr. Charming. But behind closed doors, Mr. Hyde. And the saying goes, no man can serve two masters. And I add, especially if those two masters reside within the same psyche. Because you're like, Coach, you said this yesterday, but now you want this today. I can't even do my job. My favorite coaches weren't necessarily the nice ones. They were actually the grumpy ones, but they were consistent. And I knew if they were going to be rough with me, they were always going to push back against the owner when the owner wanted to start firing people. Consistency of character is integrity, and that lets people know that you are a safe space. Not because you're the nicest person, but it just knows that they can show up and do their job and stay in their lane. If you're not operating with integrity, you're creating a culture of double standards. And double standards is the quickest way to kill your team. I promise you. If other people can get away with murder because you're changing your personality, because you think they're more talented and they're going to help you get that job promotion, which is so transparent, it blows my mind. People think I'm extroverted as a speaker. No, I'm actually introverted. But it's great. I don't have to listen to any of you. I just get to talk. But I'll be standing at the fancy soirees, pinkies up, and I'll watch people change their body language depending on who they're talking to, and it tells me I can't do business with that person. Because they would change their personality and throw me under the bus when they see their opportunity for that next advantageous position. So, integrity. Here's a promise I'll make with integrity. As you integrate all aspects of who you are, the right people will integrate with you. And you will get to where you need to go. Maybe not where you want to go, but where you need to go. This is key. Integrity sets you up for the greatest currency in the world, which is relationships, not money and bank accounts. Playing basketball on every continent around the world, I have friends that will do anything for me. Because they knew that Lance was consistent. Lance had my back. Lance never caved and compromised anyone else for his own short-term gain. Integrity. And some mornings when I was chasing that NBA dream, my integrity was all I had. Getting up, tired, beaten up, putting on my shoes, lacing them up one more time, but knowing if I stayed true to who I was, I would get to where I needed to go. Let's move on a little bit here. So I'm going to show you a video. This is me at the age of 11 speaking after being in speech therapy for 9 years.
Yeah, I was goalie for my soccer team, and now we're practicing basketball and stuff, and I got a floor burn right here, and I was scared.
Man.
I opened up my present, and that actually already did when we went to the Nintendo game. And we went to Microsoft Pet Store about nothing. And
Ooh, I usually have a joke here, but I lost my father to Alzheimer's last summer, and I thought I was ready to show that video. It's the first time. Just give me a second. I'll recover. We actually had to move to Utah to the second headquarters of the group because of that power struggle my parents were in. And in elementary, as the biggest kid, as a third grader, with the giant hearing aids and speech therapy and sounding like I did, I was a huge target of bullying. Oh wait, but you were the big kid. The movies get it wrong. When you're the big kid, they tell you you're too big. You got to shrink your size. You play too rough. Compromise yourself to fit in. Make everyone else feel comfortable. You're responsible for everyone else's triggers, Lance. So you have to be the nice guy. And also with the story that, oh, yeah, maybe I don't deserve love because of some past sin. The martyr thing, thinking, yeah, all right, people are picking on me because I guess I deserve it. That's my cross to bear. It wasn't until, let's see, it was about 5th grade, some kids came and grabbed my hearing aids, threw them in the bushes and ran off. And rather than falling to the ground and feeling sorry for myself, a question came into my head. It was, what is going on in their personal life that is so bad that they will want to come after me to make me feel worthless? Maybe their dad beats them. Maybe their mom doesn't care about them. Third principle, compassion. Compassion protects you. What? No, people are going to take advantage of you, Lance. You can't be a doormat. Puff your chest. Compassion protects you because it gets you outside of your head so that when people betray you, when they steal from you, entrepreneurs, guess what? People are going to steal from you. And you realize it's from their own scarcity mentality. Holding people accountable is compassion, but not doing it from a place of spite or vindictiveness. And I say this not without, again, spite or vindictiveness, but every coach who ever cut me mid-season in my professional career was also fired that same season, which tells me he was already in a world of chaos. In his own effort to save his own skin, he was doing whatever he had to do, and I was just collateral damage. With accountability, I take the feedback saying, where could I have done better, and what can I learn from it? But with compassion, I leave his energy with him, and I do not internalize it. I do not let it be a story about me. I understand that he is projecting his own fears onto me, and I leave that with him. Traveling around the world, you see that 90% of the world operates in fear. Fear of abandonment or entrapment, but abandonment is usually the greatest one. If I lose this job, I'll lose my spouse, and I'll lose my house, and then I'll be living in a gutter, the whole downward spiral. It's fear. 10% operate in trust, that I live in a world of opportunities. Maybe that opportunity passed me by, but there will be more. And as a basketball player, did I expect to shoot 100% from the field every single night? God, no. Yet as entrepreneurs, we think, oh, every business endeavor, I gotta be 100%. Completely unrealistic. And yet when something goes wrong, we internalize it, we think it's about us because someone betrayed us or something went wrong, and you think, oh, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the skills. That's because you're absorbing everyone else's thing and you're buying into the story, living in a world of fear. Instead, operating with your own healthy bubble. The beautiful thing about playing basketball, though, with my hearing loss, I was just in my own bubble. People want to talk shit to me, and I'm like, hey, save it, I can't hear you, man. Drove them crazy. But it just allowed me, whatever league I played in, it's like the coaches conspired with each other and called, if you play Lance Allred 28 minutes a game, he will average 16 and 10. How was I able to do that? Again, I couldn't take anyone else's drama. All I could do was control what I can control, and the only person who could guard me was me if I was getting in my head. As a basketball player, as an athlete, you guys hear about the athletes getting into the zone. When you're in the zone, your brain is shut off. When you're aiming your shots, that's when you miss, because you're in your head. I go see all these CEOs, they love to sit on the front row of the sporting events and say, oh, Lance, you made that great instinctive play last night when the play broke down. You trusted your gut, your intuition, you did it, awesome. And then they'll go to work that same day and hamstring their employees and say, well, what did the stats say? Stats give us the illusion of control. We had all these pregame stats and scouting reports that give us an idea. But do you think there was ever one game in my life that went exactly according to the pregame plan? No. This is why people love sports. This is why people love the athlete. The athlete adapts in real time, and we watch it. And that's inspiring. Politicians, rock stars, actors, scripted, rehearsed. Athletes, we adapt in real time. And so a lot of times that's a message that people are failing to learn from the athlete. That you all have the athlete archetype within you, which is, can you adapt in real time? And be able to detach yourself from outcomes. And we'll get to that principle in just a little bit. With compassion, though, as I wrap this up here, reminder, compassion protects you. Gets you outside of your head, turns your brain off, and allows you to stay in your body and keep playing the game of life. As everyone else short circuits, you stay in your rhythm, and you keep in your space. That's your little bubble. Doing your best to shine a little light wherever you go, but you can't take other people's energy, negative energy, back into you. You got to stay in your lane. Keep playing on. Shortly after that video you saw, my father blew the whistle on child abuse and money laundering for the Vegas mob. And we had to go into hiding. At the age of 13, we were in the wilderness in Utah this time. And so that was tough, losing all my cousins who had been my best friends, what's true, what's not, religion, all that stuff. As a 13-year-old kid, your body's growing, and now here I am. We moved to downtown Salt Lake City, grew that year from 5'10" to 6'4" in 8th grade, slept a lot. And the coach sees me walking down the hall. He's like, hey, you're really tall, you should come play basketball. My inner ear imbalance with my hearing loss was atrocious. My gross motor skills were that of a drunk man. But my fine motor skills, off the charts. I'll destroy any one of you at Street Fighter 2. Mario Kart, forget about it. Don't even step up. But I'm like, I don't have any friends. I guess it'll be a good way for me to blend in. And, it's just basketball. I don't have to really worry about communicating, right? Little did I know that team sports requires extreme amounts of communication. My very first game, first off, look at that hair. I miss the 90s. Great decade. But this is the game that I was telling you I was ejected. The ref thought I was ignoring him. And I scoured this film for highlights, and they were few and far in between, the whole hour. But bless my little heart. I'm going to go for a rebound here. I don't get it, but I took 2 shots that game. The first one was a block. The second one was a little baby hook on the baseline here. Not bad. But basketball fans, who here can tell me what's a big man staple? What should every big man be able to do? I know we're Astros fans right now, but come on. Rebound? Did you say rebound over there? Good job. My one rebound for the game, off of a free throw, mind you, not the hardest ones to get, but we'll take it. But the one thing I knew how to do without any coaching, with my hearing loss, I've always watched to mimic people. In the 1990s, Jeff Hornacek was with the Utah Jazz, one of the greatest free throw shooters of all time. And I watched how he kept that ball in front of his head. And we all had that teacher in class growing up draw that line on the chalkboard from point A to point B, point A to point C. The longer line you have to draw, the harder it is to keep it in a straight line. Oh, that makes sense. If I keep the ball in front of my head with a soft touch, with a lower arc, that's less distance the ball has to travel, so therefore, smaller margin of error. All right, cool. Yay for geometry. But you watch these guys like Carlos Boozer and everyone who bring it all the way back here, and you're like, oh, it's not that hard. Without any coaching, I was an 80% free throw shooter my entire career as a big man. Just by being able to watch body language and understanding basic, simple physics and keeping it simple. I don't care how many points you score. I care how many shots you took to get those points. I care about the efficiency. Efficiency is the name of the game, not the end stats. Efficiency in the game, efficiency in life. How effective are you being, the impact you have wherever you go. Still, was ejected shortly after that shot. And everyone's saying, no, Lance Allred, he's too deaf, he can't do this. And my sister, God bless her, I love her, she had been accepted into the University of Utah School of Medicine when we went into hiding. Here was a girl at the age of 11 in a polygamous cult, said, Dad, I want to be a medical doctor. And everyone said, oh, that's cute. Girls don't get educations, let alone become doctors. And she said, watch me. Right when she was accepted in the University of Utah School of Medicine, she saw how much I began to care about basketball. And she said, Lance, here's what you do. You write down your goals and you put them above your light switch. And every time you touch your light switch, on or off, you read them out loud. Maybe a little OCD, but every goal I have ever written down in my life has come true. In some way, shape, or form. Did it look exactly the way I thought it was going to look? Absolutely not. I, Lance Allred, would start from my high school team by my junior year. I, Lance Allred, would average a 3.5 GPA. I, Lance Allred, would get a scholarship to the University of Utah. And I was writing down those goals, I'd read them out loud, and then you get an intuitive download, and it is intuitive, we all get it. Most of us choose to shut it off. I says, all right, to make these goals come true, I have to wake up every morning before school at 5:30 a.m. with the old alarm clock bells on my chest, because I don't sleep with my hearing aids in, that would vibrate and wake me up, and bike through rain, sleet, or snow without my parents waking me up. 0 times my parents woke me up, because it was my passion, my dreams. If you're living vicariously through your children, please stop. You're embarrassing everybody. Your job is to help your child find their passion, and then you support them in that passion. Their job is to show up. My high school coach didn't receive 1 extra penny to meet me for 3 straight years before school. At 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning. Putting in that time. He was teaching me to see the game, develop the peripheral vision, keep my head on a swivel, reading people's body language, understanding if they're being nonchalant, acting lazy, it means they're probably going to get the down screen coming off of the jump shot. I have to be ready to contest it as the big man, hedging the screen. Little things he taught me. He's a brilliant coach in the college leagues now, and he earned it. That time he invested in me. And like I said I was going to, at the end of my junior year, started from a high school team, 3.5 GPA, and got a scholarship to the University of Utah in 1998, the year that Utah lost to Kentucky in the national championship game. And I only live 5 blocks away from the U. And so it's what you do. I also want to give it back to my community. And so, University of Utah it was, after scholarships offers from Stanford, Kansas, Purdue, North Carolina. Utah was a top 5 program. And it was a perfect fit. And now we're going to go into the Rick Majerus saga. And I tell this not as a victim, but that we can learn from examples of leadership. At first, my relationship with Majerus was a brilliant relationship. He was a brutal taskmaster, brilliant tactician, and I still had the story that some God was angry with me and I had to do something superhuman to earn love. Oh, I have to be the first deaf player in the NBA and then I'll be worthy of love. As society tells us to. As men, you have to do something incredible and then a woman will love you. How transactional is that? Yet we don't ask those questions. And so every made or missed shot had eternal ramifications in my mind. So I was brutal. I was brutal on myself. I beat myself up every single night. And it was still a good dynamic with me and Majerus. Sophomore year, his mother got cancer, and I have compassion for this. He began to unravel emotionally. And he had us lined up on the baseline one day, and he was cussing us all out. And he said, Lance, you know, you're the worst of all. You use your hearing as an excuse to weasel your way through life, and you're just a disgrace to cripples. And if I was in a wheelchair and started to play basketball, I'd shoot myself. Now, as a 41-year-old man, I would say that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You should get yourself checked out. But when you're a 19-year-old kid and the world tells you got to be macho, gladiator, man, bleed, sweat, die if you have to, but entertain me. People don't care about your feelings. But guess what? Athletes feel a great deal. We have to. We have to be in our bodies to perform. And yet the world tells us, all right, in the arenas you can be all emotional, but in the real world you got to be stoic. You got to suppress it. And so we live compartmentalized lives, and that's why we have all the extreme blow-ups of tempers and violence as athletes, because we're not given permission to integrate in the real world. You have to be a gladiator in that arena. And I'll throw beer cans at the TV if you make a bad play, because I'm entitled to as a fan. We'll get into that in a second. And so I just suppressed it. But then I'm in my head thinking, okay, every time I stepped on the court, I was like, please don't pass me the ball. Please don't pass me the ball, because I didn't want to be on film making a mistake. Next principle, acceptance. Acceptance is not quitting, not being passive. At the end of my sophomore year, I was ready to quit basketball. I thought I had no value. I thought I was worthless. And I would do this thing every single night, even into my 30s in my professional career, which was I would say, oh, if only I had made that easy layup in the second quarter, I would have had 20 points tonight instead of 18. But it wasn't until I was like 31, 32, beating myself in my head, laying on my pillow, that I thought, well, wait, hold on one hot minute. If I had made that easy layup in the second quarter, the opposing team would have had to stop the play, inbound the ball, and run a completely different play. And then we would have ran a completely different play, depending on whether they made, missed it, or turned it over. And then they would have done the same thing in consequence. Chain reaction. So when people say hindsight's 20/20, that is wrong. It is chain reaction. It's being able to say, all right, things are flowing. All I can do in this moment is make the most informed decision I possibly can in this moment. And I will keep collecting information, doing the best I can with the information and the wisdom that I have to keep making the best decision in each moment. The great basketball players are not the ones who play perfect games. They're the ones who are just able to accept and adapt and flow, who have the grit and the gumption to keep playing on through their mistakes. I used to do another thing. Oh, I missed my first 5 shots. I got to make my next 5 to get back up to 50%. When I began to give myself some compassion and say, all right, I missed those first 5 shots because that's what was supposed to happen. Why was that supposed to happen? Because that's what happened. And I accept it, and I let it go, and I move on. Wallowing in guilt and shame and self-pity is not taking accountability. It's checking out of the game. To be a good teammate, I have to own what is, learn from it, apply it, and let it go. Because if I'm still worried about getting those next 5 shots, I'm playing from behind. And I'm actually afraid to take that next shot. And if I'm afraid to take that next shot and the ball is in my hands with 2 seconds left on the shot clock and I don't shoot it because I'm afraid of my stats and what the coach is going to say, that's basically a turnover for my team. And I'm not being present. Acceptance allows you to get present and in the moment where you're able to make the most informed decisions for your team. Acceptance allows you to learn. I don't believe that everything happens for reasons, but I do believe we can learn from it. And that is wisdom. And you're able to apply it and keep playing on. Acceptance is the powerful one. When we're taught in a Western society that we can measure our worth by these superficial outcomes, when there are so many variables. A basketball game has so many variables. Did the ref make a bad call? I can't control that. Yeah, I'm going to measure my worth on a subjective whistle call? How stupid is that? All I can do is say, all right, that's the way the dice fell. Keep playing on. And you flow and you allow it to be. Keep pushing yourself through. Acceptance is a hard one. It's taking accountability, keeping your side of the street clean, applying and learning, and getting back into the game. Brave enough to detach your worth from the outcome, knowing that there's a million different variables. I was ready to quit after my sophomore year at the University of Utah. I got one scholarship offer. Pay attention to the theme of ones now as I come down into the fourth quarter. I was to go play at Weber State University for Coach Joe Cravens, who at one point been an assistant at the University of Utah, so he knew what went on behind closed doors. And I took that scholarship offer thinking, all right, I'll go and I'll go play well, and then I'll, maybe go to law school. But before my senior year, I finally had the audacity to start writing down my goals again. I, Lance Allred, will average 18 points and 12 rebounds a game. I will lead the nation in rebounding. I will be an academic All-American. I will be the first deaf player in NBA history, and I will be a published author. That was on my wall. And like I said I was going to, averaged 18 points, 12 rebounds a game, led the nation in rebounding. And I know, watch the free throw here. Ball in front of the hoop, head, short distance to the hoop, keep it simple. Thank you very much. At the end of my season, I lost in my conference tournament championship game by 2 points, University of Montana on a buzzer beater. I ended at 12.0 rebounds a game, #1 in the country. Then two brilliant basketball players, Andrew Bogut and Paul Millsap, had massive NCAA tournament runs, passed me up to go to 12.1 and 12.2. I went from #1 to #3. I only got one NBA workout. That was to go practice for the Utah Jazz because somebody else had missed their flight. And they had another player there they wanted to test, and like, oh, Lance Allred lives at the street. Let's bring him down, throw him a bone. Thanks, guys, let's go do it. And I went and had a really good workout. I even surprised myself, who knew? And the guy I was working out against was so out of shape he couldn't even finish the workout. He just fell to his knees and started vomiting everywhere. So much vomit. Just slowly cascading over the Utah Jazz logo. So much. But the Jazz still drafted him in the second round. Why would they do that? Maybe his agent was former teammates with the general manager. Maybe his agent had other players on the Utah Jazz and was leveraging them to get him on. No, Lance, don't go after my professional sports teams. I want to believe it's pure merit. Why else am I paying all that money? No one wanted to believe it more than me. But when there's that much money involved, come on, guys, of course it's political. Who are we kidding? And I had a choice to be a victim, or I could say, all right, I have a little more clarity. It's not so much professional sports, it's more corporate sports. And what am I going to do with that information? It's more information to apply and figure it out. And I'll figure this out somehow, some way. My very first job offer to go play in Istanbul, Turkey for a $90,000 contract as a rookie. Not bad, let's go do it. And we went and did it, and we did a little too well. That by the second month of the season, we're #2 in the standings. And the coach and the owner, who never played basketball, were sitting there looking at the stats and say, wow, we're #2, and our center is only a rookie. There is a more experienced center playing over in Taiwan with the shorter people, averaging 42 points a game on 28 shots a game. So never minding where all those extra shots are going to come from, but his 42 points are going to magically add on to our stats, and we'll go from 100 points a game to 132, because math is hard because Lance is only averaging 10, who knows, right? Lance is only averaging 10 points on 4 shots a game. All right, efficiency. But I'm like, wait, I have a contract. Newsflash, when you sign a contract outside the United States, it doesn't mean anything. Those are just guidelines. Most of these sports clubs are just fronts for organized crime, where they launder their money. Like, all right, and if they like you enough, you're going to get all your money. But hopefully, if you add up the money I'm owed from around the world, it's about $800,000. That was never paid. Shady business, silly business. And so it's easy to look at professional sports and you see the top 10% of players in the NBA and we think that's what it's like for everybody. No, it's like any corporate structure. You're doing your best and your bottom just to figure out a way, hopefully you can climb to the top. I don't know how it's possible, but you can do it. So I tell the coach and the owner, all right, well, you still owe me $20,000 for the first 2 months. And they said, we'll mail it to you. I'm like hell you're going to mail it to me. I want my wire transfer receipt. And they said, okay, meet the team trainer tonight at the 7 p.m. Ramadan bell behind the Blue Mosque in the Grand Bazaar. Sounds specifically ominous, but okay. Let's go give it a shot. Luckily, my brother was in town with me, so he always wanted to see Istanbul. We're making our way through the bazaar. Think like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, just dark hair, turbans, dog fighting, chicken fighting, goats being slaughtered, people trying to sell you a rug. Hey, American, you want a rug? I don't want a rug. I want my $20,000. Finally, the whole bazaar parts like the Red Sea, and the team trainer walks up to me, takes an envelope out, opens it up, $20,000 cash. And the whole bazaar comes to a screeching halt. It's like everyone knew that is exactly 20,000 US dollars. I said, whoa, I don't want that. Team trainer just shrugs, drops it on the ground, and walks away like a cool cat. And these two total mafia-looking guys are looking right at me and my brother. All right, do a bait and switch. My brother takes the envelope, I take the cash, put it in my pocket, we split up. I start walking casually out of the bazaar. Notice one guy following me, the other's following my brother. I pick up my pace, he picks up at his pace, he's following me. I go into a jog, he goes into a jog. I'm in a dead sprint, running down the back streets of Istanbul like a Jason Bourne movie. In a very clear stream of consciousness, I thought I was a professional basketball player. I don't know what this is, but this is not professional basketball. Scaled the cement wall, hid next to a chicken coop for 3 hours until it got dark, caught a cab, didn't have cell phones, but luckily my brother had the same thought. We met at the airport, we got out. So my very first 20K marathon was a very different sort. Went over to Spain, injured my knee in Spain. The team there said, oh, that's a pre-existing condition, we don't have to pay for it. So I went home for my very first year as a professional basketball player, paying for my own knee surgery, broke, in debt, in the red, rehabbing on my parents' sofa. These are not the stories I was told about professional basketball. I remember in just a fit of woe, just laying on my parents' sofa, my knees over the armrest, just feeling sorry for myself, like, I thought I was a pro basketball player. Where's my Cadillac with the spinning rims, yo? Where are my Beats by Dre? Why, oh why, am I reading all the Harry Potter books in 3 weeks? Seriously, read them all in 3 weeks. That's how low it was for me. Did a landscaping job that summer to just make ends meet. And then after 9 months of radio silence, my agent calls me up and said, right, you got a job opportunity to go try out for the Idaho Stampede up in Boise, Idaho, the minor league team for the Utah Jazz. You, sir, with the fancy blue suit. Steven, right? Yeah. How much do you think that job, that contract was per month to go play for the Idaho Stampede? $1,200? Oh my gosh. He is the first person in the history of Price is Right to land it exactly. $1,200. Well done. That's insane. I usually get the 5,000 or 10,000. 1,200, but it's after taxes, so calm down. So, went and tried out for that job. Basically to be the last guy on the team, and I showed up in my old shoes that I wore the year before in Europe, because I had already borrowed so much money, just gas money, to even get there to try out. And these shoes were so worn out, that first day of practice, they ripped off the calluses on the balls of my feet. 10-year-old calluses that had protected me for many, many miles. And I had blood just oozing out of my shoes. And the coach had to kick me off to go get taped up, but that tape would keep ripping and just ripping off more skin. And then after practice, I could actually go into the shower and cry because no one could see me. And I had to do that whole thing for a week before I made the team. Discomfort. Everyone says they want the American dream, but what price are they willing to pay for it? As I said, I understand life gave me a head start on having a threshold for discomfort, of having to put myself every day out of my comfort zone and read your lips and communicate and do this whole song and dance. Everyone says they want the American dream, but they also want to stay home and eat a bowl of ice cream and watch the Kardashians. Can't have both. We're not entitled to it, just a pursuit of it, that's all. If you want to live a remarkable life, an exceptional life, you have to understand that you're not an exception. The life owes you nothing. And are you brave enough to actually, with accountability, go earn it, own your shortcomings and failures, and take those small victories along the way? Discomfort is being able to step outside your comfort zone into the abstract. Absolutes are an illusion. Comfort zones, an illusion. Stability is an illusion. When my father got his life back together, he became a school principal, did everything right, retired with his pension, and died a year later with Alzheimer's. Stability is an illusion. Are you brave enough to step into the unknown? Masculine and feminine. Masculine is shooting the ball. Feminine is passing the ball. If you're hyper-masculine, you're predictable. If you're shooting the ball every single time, I know what you're going to do, and you are easy to guard, and you will get benched. If you pass it every time, I know what you're going to do, and you're predictable, and you will get benched. It's being able to be fluid, masculine and feminine, which is being heart-centered. Trusting your intuition, that as life keeps throwing curveballs, you have the resources within yourself to adapt and play on. Yet most people want to stay in the black and white. That's the child archetype. Carl Jung, the four survivors, child, victim, saboteur, prostitute. Again, life is full of irony. I'm the deaf guy, and people hire me to help them with communication in their company settings. And I was a speech therapist until I was 16 years old because everyone says, Lance, you sound stupid. You need to sound better and be a better communicator. All right, let's communicate. Then I go out into the real world, and no one wants to communicate. You're my soulmate. You're supposed to read my mind magically. No, be an adult and communicate. Have uncomfortable conversations. Get out of the child archetype. Child archetype says, I need someone to save me, to complete me. Damn that Jerry Maguire stuff. Most of the heroes in romantic comedies is the child archetype speaking. I need someone to make me feel safe and meet my needs. The victim says, oh, the world's out to get me. The world's conspiring to get me. I grew up with conspiracy theories. It was interwoven with my religious doctrine. All I heard was the victim. I am legally deaf because of anti-vax conspiracy theories. So I have a very different perspective. And I will sit with anyone and talk about it. Because all I hear with conspiracy theories is a glorified victim saying, I am special enough that the world is going to come after me. If I'm triggering you right now, that's my job. Saboteur says, why me? I can't possibly duplicate this. I don't deserve this. Prostitute. I have a big prostitute archetype from scarcity. Just this once or one last time. I will compromise myself, come to your basketball team and make you guys look good, but when it's time to pay me, you won't honor me. I will lower my price for a speaking engagement because I need that money, and then you'll still go with someone else. It's me choosing to live a self-actualized life and move out of scarcity, out of the survivors. Those four survivor archetypes, I challenge you to research them. They're brilliant, they're fascinating, yet that's how most of the world communicates. From scarcity and fear. I am here to help you move into actualization of yourself so that your true talents will come. That's what I learned to do as a team captain. When the coach couldn't see it, I was still able to talk to my teammates and help them see these skills they did not have. That's what I get paid to do. I'm not doing this to shame you. The survivors are brilliant. They help us survive a crazy world. It's not black and white. It's a million shades of gray. But when we're kids, we're trying to figure out this crazy stuff. But as you become adults, you realize my parents had no idea what the hell they were doing. Nobody knows. And am I brave enough to admit that and move out of the illusion of stability and control and just be a baller? Step into the zone and go with the flow. When I'm aiming my shots, again, I am missing. When I'm in the flow, I'm not thinking, I'm not aiming, I'm letting what will be to be. That's what allows me to show up and be present for my teammates and now for my family and friends. As I'm going through all this, it's not to say it was easy, it was hard. Living off ramen noodles in my 6'11" frame as a professional basketball player, $1,200 a month. I hadn't played in 6 straight weeks, the end of the bench, and yeah, again, life is full of irony. It's like, oh, let's go send the deaf guy to do all of our communication work for the team. All right, fine. I had a choice though. I could have been spiteful and say, you know, this is BS, I'm better than this, I'm gonna go to law school. Instead I said, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do a radio interview. I'm gonna learn how to do a TV interview. I'm gonna learn how to do public speaking by putting on that Dr. Seuss hat and reading to the kids in school. Reading is fundamental. I'm going to learn how to do all these things that people were pigeonholing me as and say, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do them. I'm gonna learn how to do them so well that they will allow me to transition out of basketball and make more money than I ever did as a basketball player. This is what underdogs do. We take people's table scraps and we alchemize it into gold. Knowing, again, the world owes me nothing. And everyone is so obsessed about respect. When am I going to get my respect? Actually, I don't want people to respect me. Because when they keep disrespecting me, they keep giving me the tactical advantage. And I keep blindsiding them. They're like, when is this guy going to give up, man? T-bone, T-bone, T-bone. Okay, leave me alone. You can put some respect on my name if you want. No, because you're the deaf guy. You need to know your place. So, forget about the respect. Forget about the accolades. Take care of your craft, and it will come back, and it will repay you. I promise you. And when people underestimate you, don't get hurt. Don't get offended. Lick your chops. That's what you got to do. It was tough though. I had a bleeding ulcer, I was stressed, I was in debt, hadn't played in 6 straight weeks, and my mom called me up one day and she said, Lance, you know, I'm really proud of you. You don't have to keep doing this. Why do you keep doing it? And I said, Mom, because I choose to. It's my choice. Always been my choice. Within a week of that call, starting center broke his leg. Starting power forward got bought out, ironically, the same team in Turkey, the one I played for the year before. And he's like, hey, yo, dog, this is a good team. They pay, right? You'll have fun? Backup center got recalled to his NBA team. And so by default, I'm the only big man the team has. And coach is freaking out. But I'm in a good mood flying in the cold-ass Bismarck, North Dakota in the middle of January because that meant $30 a day per diem meal money. Baller. I might go buy that $5 footlong from Subway today, you know what I'm saying? Make it rain, yo. Coach sits me down, we're shoot around. He's like, all right, Lance, we signed another center, but he'll be here tomorrow night, so you have to start. You haven't played in 6 straight weeks, so, you know, just keep it simple. You know, get like 4 or 5 points off of offensive rebounds, maybe a free throw here. You know, just be a good teammate, pass the ball, set some screens, you know, just keep it simple. Help's on the way. All right, coach.
Feed the hot hand. That's what the Idaho Stampede have been doing for the last 2 months.
Gave him 30 points and 10 rebounds my first game as a starter on the road in Bismarck, North Dakota. How was I able to do that? 1, I was licking my chops because no one saw the deaf guy coming. 2, I knew that if I keep putting in and putting in, I believe in the laws of physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I knew if I kept putting in and putting in, I would get my shot. Only 1 shot. That's all I was banking on. And so, for those 6 straight weeks when I was not playing, I ran the court on every drill. And even when my teammates were ahead of me on the fast break and didn't need me, I still ran with them. When they made the layup, I went 1 stride further, and I touched the baseline. And I ran back. And sure, my teammates laughed at me because I wasn't cool. But what did cool ever get me? A cookie? Never got me a cookie. Cookies just come in handbags. When my number was called, because of that, I was able to play for 40 straight minutes without a sub. Give him 30 points, 10 rebounds, and then everyone's like, wow, this is nuts. For the rest of the season, averaged 22 points and 13 rebounds a game. Went to NBA All-Star Weekend and won my horse trophy. Never won an MVP trophy. Never won a participation trophy. I'm glad I didn't. Because it kept me going. I earned that trophy. That trophy was a reflection of my willingness with my hearing loss to understand I'm not the most athletic guy and I can't hear. So I had to learn to be cerebral, masculine and feminine, learning to score more with my left hand even though I'm right-handed. Learning to shoot all these trick shots that no one knew how to guard. I drove people crazy because these centers were like, wait, come dunk on me, bro, so I can block your shot. Like, no, boop, baby left hook, block that. Drove them crazy. Sent so many guys to the bench with technicals. It was fun. And yet, that guy's overrated. If I keep underestimating me, and I will keep making you look bad. It's a reflection of all the hours I was willing to put in, to be ambidextrous, cerebral, to be fluid, willing to flow with what life throws at you. Shortly after that.
Now, one of the best stories in the D-League this season was Idaho Stampede center Lance Allred getting the Gatorade call-up to the Cleveland Cavaliers and becoming the first legally deaf player in NBA history. Allred signed 2 10-day contracts with Cleveland, then another contract for the rest of the season.
It was a fun day. I had done something that people said could never be done. No hype, no buzz, no ESPN help. Just had no branding help, had to do it through the back roads. Not bad for a deaf polygamous kid from the backwoods of Montana. And I remember my very first point in the NBA was from my free throw. My very first point I ever made was my free throw. That had been consistent with me for everything. I lined up in front of 16,000 people in Cleveland, Ohio. The lights, so bright. And I wound up, shot it, and I banked it in. Didn't mean to. I didn't bank in my free throws. But everyone thought I did it on purpose. But what happened? Short circuit. As I wound up to shoot that shot, a thought came into my head in front of 16,000 people. Is this it? Is this the best that it gets? I don't feel any different in here. I still have that fear if I miss the shot, I might lose my job. And if I lose my job, I won't be worthy of love. No one will want to be with me. Who'd want to be with a deaf polygamous kid? Severe depression set in, but like, you know what, all right, it's a job. I'm seeing it. There were still fun perks, never eating ramen noodles ever again, the food everywhere, the travel. The thing I missed the most about the NBA, towels. Towels? Yeah. You play enough shoddy arenas around the world with no air conditioning and no towels, you're playing with sweaty palms, you may as well be playing with a bowling ball. But in the NBA, I could be anywhere. Quicken Loans practice arena, the court, in the restaurant, in my hotel room shower, I could put my hand out, there'd be some minion there ready to put a towel in my hand. Towels everywhere. Like, all right, I'm going to figure all this out, make it work, but this is 2008, beginning of that next season, right before my guarantee kicks in for the whole season, the economy crashes. Teams instantly cut their 13th, 15th, 14th, and 15th roster spots. I'm gone. Wait, I worked my ass off? Circumstances beyond my control, yet I immediately go to default thinking, oh, it's my reflection in the worth as a human being. Circumstances that I have no control over. Then went over to Italy, team there is not paying, surprisingly, and I nearly committed suicide. Sitting on a windowsill. Because the pain of my expectations were not matching with reality. Our greatest pain are the stories we hold on to that we tell ourselves. And we hold on to these stories no matter how badly they burn because we still believe there's some sort of merit badge and this is my identity. Because I did not know the final principle, which is how to be a leader of my own life. By being brave enough to rebuild, rewire, not just change your thoughts, change your life, that's cute. Rewiring the entire motherboard. Separating myself from culture. Culture is fascinating. Playing on every continent around the world, everyone and their mother thinks their values are the best values. So if everyone's saying that, it's a wash. Our brain is a hard drive. Our culture is a software operating system that gives us the values and algorithms with which we operate from. Being brave enough to say, have I outgrown this software system? Am I brave enough to redefine my own metrics of success? It takes a lot of work, 10 years to do it really. I had to do these principles all over again. I retired from basketball 7 years ago to be with my son as I was going through a divorce. Accountability. It is my job to keep my side of the street clean in a failed marriage. Owning the stories and baggage I brought into it from my upbringing that say, if my grandfather could keep 7 women happy and I can't even keep 1 woman happy, what does that say about me as a man? Impossible stories that we hold ourselves to. Integrity. That as I'm growing a new career as a speaker, am I the same person in every room that I walk into, so that when Jim Crowder knows, hey, we need a new speaker, I got to bring Lance Allred down, I'm going to honor him and his word. Because I am the same person in every room that I walk into, knowing that relationships are the strongest currency in the world. Compassion, that when you're going through the pain of a divorce and you're just slinging at each other and your heart is breaking and you want to punch right back, you used to say, she's in pain, I'm in pain, we're both in pain. It's the hardest one. Accountability and acceptance and discomfort interwoven. All right, here I am, aspiring speaker, single dad of a 2-year-old boy, all right, living in a basement apartment like the living incarnation of the Chris Farley man living in a van down by the river skit. I accept it. I accept it right. All my basketball money that I saved up, divorce, gone. I have $27 in my bank account. My credit cards are maxed out. But I know this can work. How long am I willing to hold on? And getting that first $5,000 paid speaking gig. How uncomfortable are you willing to be to have your dreams come true? And being a leader of my own life says that whether I have $27 in my bank account or $1 million in my bank account, my worth and my message does not change. That your funds of knowledge, your own unique life path. No one has the same life. And yet we're all here trying to figure out what's the perfect system. Doesn't work. You all have unique experiences that give you a different perspective. And so I'm torpedoing my principles by telling you to be self-actualized as a leader of your own life, to be brave enough to redefine your own metrics of success. Mine is simple, clarity. Clarity that says my worth is not attached to an outcome. Because that allows me to be a baller. How willing are you to fail? I get this question all the time. Lance, how did you make the NBA? Took me an hour to get here. I usually just simply ask, how willing are you to fail? Failure means you're willing to step outside your comfort zone, take risks, trying something new. Mediocre is staying inside your bubble, thinking these old formulas that people are selling you to get rich quick success formulas, which they make money on, is your ticket. Understanding, again, your own unique experiences, your background, give you an entire different playing board. Are you, for once, going to trust your own intuition? Understanding your intuition isn't going to bat 100. It's a muscle. It's a skill. And you got to grow it. That's what ballers do. Ballers are the hardest people to guard. Because we're not attaching our worth to an outcome. When I'm going against a guy who's not looking over his shoulder, who isn't afraid the coach is going to pull him because he missed a shot, those are the hardest ones to guard. Because they're going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming because they know their worth is not attached to that last shot. The easiest ones to guard are the ones who are looking over their shoulder because they're afraid to make a mistake. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to have this kid for breakfast. Same thing in life and in the world. If you're afraid to make a mistake, you're going to keep missing your shots. You got to keep being willing to step outside, keep playing on. You're entrepreneurs here. Not every business here is going to be successful. Does it mean you're a bad business person? No. I had a bad game. I took a bad shot. Does it mean I'm a bad basketball player? No. You get up and you keep playing on. You keep getting cerebral with each experience. I frustrate people still. I frustrate the universe. Lance Allred, what does he want to be? He wants to be a motivational speaker, but he's buying laundromats. He's doing AB. I can't guard this guy. Giving myself as many streams of revenue possible to give me the freedom to keep playing life on my terms. This is what ballers do. This is what entrepreneurs do. As entrepreneurs, you have the athlete archetype in you. Are you willing to adapt and adjust and to flow? As I'm saying goodbye now, life is going to keep coming. Life, as you know, does not get easier. It's just, do you get smarter, do you get tougher? You can keep handling the blows. You make me a promise that long after I'm gone, especially the ones whose businesses that will fail, statistically fail, when that day comes, I want you to remember me in this moment. That you make me a promise that you will get back up every single time, one more time, and keep playing on. Woodlands, thank you so much. Love it.
Well, that was a pretty good speech, Lance. Yeah, you guys got any questions? Take a couple. Anybody? Oh, Miss Amanda?
All right, Astros or Phillies? So with my disenchantment with corporate sports, all I ask for is a good series, good competition. But as I told Jim Crowder last night, the one thing the Astros could do to really make me lean in and be an Astros fans for life, just make your next mascot a garbage can. Lean into it. Accountability is inspiring.
Anybody else? Please have a good question. All right. On that note, Lance, let's give Lance another round of applause. Thank you, Lance.
Guys.